Hey everyone, welcome to the Dare to Care podcast, the podcast where we talk about the inner workings of ministry at Inspire Family Fellowship and community stories within the church. If you have any comments, stories, or questions about Inspire or our Dare to Care ministries at any point during our podcast today, feel free to send those questions to me at ty@inspirefamily.org. We also invite you to join us in person any Sunday or Wednesday that you're able, 523 North 21st Street, Bismarck, North Dakota. Our Sunday services are at 9:15 and 10:45, and we have Wednesday night services at 7 p.m. Of course, those will get a little spotty as we move toward the end of the year here. Like I said, my name's Ty Farnsworth. If you're new to the podcast, welcome. If you're not new to the podcast, looks a little different. It's just me alongside with our guest today, pastor's kid and longtime member of the church, Jordan Upgren. Jordan, how you doing today?
Doing all right. It's a nice day out, a little windy, but just good to be outside, actually, moving around.
Good. Well, we know your father. Your father was here last week. Pastor Randy Upgren. Obviously, you guys share a last name. You shared a house for forever. Tell us a little bit what it was like growing up as a pastor's kid.
It was, I think there's a lot of pressure when it comes to PKs. At least that's kind of how trains of thought work. Like, well, if you're a pastor's kid, you're going to have a lot of pressure.
Sure.
I actually don't think I really felt that. My parents did a really good job of just, having Josh and I understand that you're human. You're going to mess up. We want you to do the best that you can to live a God-like and a Christ-like life. But ultimately, everybody's going to fall short. We don't want you to feel any pressure or anything like that. Now, I don't know if they actually ever came out and said any of that.
Sure.
It was more unspoken. And I really do give credit to my parents for how they went about that, because I've talked to other pastors' kids who have felt that way, and it's been a strain on their relationship with their parents. But I never felt that. Maybe that's just me, though.
Sure.
I would probably say Josh probably felt the same way, but maybe you'll do another interview with him at some point, and you can ask him that question. But I never really felt all the pressure of living up to a pastor's kid. Mm-hmm. Now, there are a lot of people who, over the years, have come up to me and said, "Oh, I remember when you were this big, or when you did this," and because they have connections with Randy, I'm like, "Oh, hi! I don't want to be mean. I can't remember your name."
Sure.
But there's a lot of connections.
My wife says the same thing. It's like the one thing about being a PK is everybody knows who you are, and you have no idea who anybody else is.
No, I'm notoriously so bad with names. I'm a teacher, so it takes me about 2 to 3 weeks to really actually learn names. And outside of that, if I don't have like a meaningful experience with a person, their name won't stick. It's just, I don't know. It's how my brain works.
No, that's okay.
So if I forget your name, don't take it personally.
Okay.
It's I'll ask. I please ask you not to be offended with me. Like I said, human.
Yeah, no, that's okay. We're all human. I think my biggest question for you is, well, first of all, let's back up. So was your dad working in a church when you were born?
Yeah, he was working up at Charity Lutheran Church. I think he was a youth pastor at first.
Okay.
And youth assistant. And then when I was young, he was continuously going to school and eventually got his master's in divinities from Fuller.
What was that like? Because it wasn't like you were growing up with an absentee father. Your dad was
I
very
like to
active
bug him about that, though.
No.
I hold that over him.
But what was that like, having your dad go off to school for weeks at a time, and just, growing up with your mom and your grandparents, and what was that like for you?
Well, I poke fun at my dad a lot. I mean, we all do. It's Randy. We love him, respect him, love him, poke fun at him. That's one of the things I will always bring up when we talk about him going off to Fuller, is that, you just we're gone. But to be honest, it was something I didn't really notice because I was probably a little too young at the time. The things that I can remember was spending a lot of time with my grandparents, which was amazing, and I cherish those moments. I have such a strong relationship with my family because of that. With my grandparents, Gary and Donna and Ted and Kay, because Josh and I spent so much time with them while my mom was still working full time. We needed somewhere to go.
Sure.
And thank the Lord for grandparents, because daycare, as we know, is really expensive. And I'd imagine it was that way back then. But it strengthened my relationship with my family, really had close bonds with them. As for Randy, like I said, I don't really have a lot of memories of him like boarding the plane to leave and go. He'll tell you about the time where it was his last time going off for a few months before he graduated. And I must have been 3-4 years old at the time. And apparently I had a meltdown at the airport or at home, one of the two, because he was leaving. I didn't want him to go. And he said that was a really tough one for him. So I apologize, little 4-year-old boy.
No, what can you do?
Other than, I really don't remember anything like that. I mean, my mom did one heck of a job keeping the home and raising Josh and I while Dad was away. And it's not like we could call him. We heard his voice and things like that. And he wasn't gone for too long in chunks. It was just something that he had to do. And I really I look up to my father in that way, that he did what needed to be done. And it was painful in the short term because, you're not there with your wife and your two boys. And you have to be away and absent for parts of their life. But ultimately, it was the right thing to do. And it was a tough thing to do. But I look up to him in that way for really biting the bullet and getting done what needed to be done.
Sure. So your dad, because of his position, is kind of the obvious influence of faith in your life. But who, your mom and your grandparents, or was there anyone else in your life from a very young age that kind of influenced your faith?
Boy, that's a good one. I mean, I can name you a bunch of people. I think as a young boy, I mean, like you said, my dad, and still today my dad, really is in the driver's seat for helping me grow my faith. People always ask the pastor questions. I mean, I do too. His son, I always ask him questions about Scripture. Whenever I have something that I really am struggling with to understand, I'll bring it to my dad. But examples of living a God and Christ life that I've experienced might be actually a little bit more unconventional.
Sure.
One that I immediately do think of, and I don't know if you'd be surprised to hear me say this, but is Bob Pesky.
No, does not surprise me.
Love that guy. I mean, we were in band together. You knew how I was and messed around a lot. Loved band. I did love playing my trumpet, but I loved hanging out with my friends more. But the way he led in that band room, in that classroom, I thought was an example that I really wanted to reciprocate in my life. Because we were goons, but he kind of let us be boys. We were just a little bit rowdy. We weren't mean-spirited or anything. It's just, high school boys. I teach them, can be dumb. And I was certainly one of those.
Sure.
And I remember there was one time when we were, I think, juniors, maybe it was early seniors. I can't quite remember. He pulled a couple of us into his office. And he said, well, you guys, you're the leaders now in this band room, in this classroom. And I am expecting you to behave like leaders. Now, in terms of talent, I'm not the most talented trumpet player. Never was. So talent-wise, it was tough for me to lead because there were other trumpet players better than me. But I always felt like after that conversation, well, I can lead in other ways, just how I treat people,
Sure.
how I help people in not just the classroom, that band room, but outside of it as well. Zach Greff, I think, took more of that lead approach because he, very talented on the keys, saxophone, pretty much whatever he touches turns to gold when he plays it. So he took that role. But yeah, Bob Pesky definitely is one of those characters where he's helped me in my faith. There was also a time where after, I think it was Ben Pesky's confirmation,
Sure.
or was leading up to it. We had a get-together
Sure.
at the Pizza Ranch, and we all gave Ben advice of
Like a
how
guy's meal, right?
yeah, yep, it was the guy's meal, how to lead that godly life. And I remember that Bubba passed around, it was called Bubba's Creed, and on that there's a prayer that actually I hate it, it's on my fridge still. Maybe you saw it's on the side of the fridge. But each morning as I prepare for my day at work, I say that prayer. So Bob Pesky, definitely a guy that's influenced me and shaped me. Other characters who have shaped me in my faith with God, Ernie Hockett, we know.
Sure.
I've come to Ernie at my absolute lowest points in my life. And we talk about this with the high schoolers, like, Ernie's absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
He is off his rocker in that setting.
Mm-hmm.
In that setting where he's leading the high schoolers. And that's amazing. But for anybody who's listening, when you get Ernie one-on-one,
Mm-hmm.
that craziness, which is good in its own way, turns into just an amazing person to talk to that really dives in to understand what's going on in your life and how through his training and through scripture he can help.
Mm-hmm.
So Ernie's really been there for me in my darkest moments, and I thank him for just being someone I could always come to and ask for advice.
Sure.
My brother Josh, definitely somebody that I look up to faith-wise as well. We've had different experiences
Mm-hmm.
in life, Josh and I, but I look at the way he's handled himself and the struggles and things that he's been through. He's always kept a strong heart for God.
Mm-hmm.
And from my personal experiences when I was in tough times, I really grappled with God. I really struggled to understand his will and his plan for me during those dark times. And it seems like for Josh, he's, and for a lack of a better word here, he's kind of built differently.
Mm-hmm.
He just perseveres,
Mm-hmm.
and he really, really trusts in God. So little brother looking up to big brother in that way. A couple of my other friends, Jack,
Mm-hmm.
Sullivan, he is a Catholic. We love him still.
We do love him still. We love him and his family very much.
We have a lot of conversations about faith. Most of them are completely spontaneous.
Mm-hmm.
So we bounce back and forth over the meaning of scripture and things like that. Love that guy. He's over in Jordan right now,
Mm-hmm.
serving our country. So praying for him and his family. And then, not to lick your boots here, Ty, but I also look up to you in that way too.
Thank you.
I think over the past really 3-4 years, you and I have gotten a lot closer,
Mm-hmm.
and we've had conversations just about faith and life. And I thank you for being that person I can also talk to about really those, it can be difficult topics.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
So, and there's definitely others
Mm-hmm.
that I'm not listing here. A couple more people I will just mention here are much younger than me.
Mm-hmm.
Karsten, he's definitely one of those guys. I look at him and I'm really proud of both him, Ben Rolstead, and Pesky, all those guys, man, it is and it's going to be really, really hard.
This is going to be a tough graduating class.
This is going to be a tough graduating class. But those guys they have a strong foundation. And I know that. I know a lot of them are going to UND. That when you're away from home, maybe things change. Oh, God is going to be walking with them.
Sure.
They inspire me to do better.
Sure.
To push, make myself a better Christian.
Sure.
So I'll leave it with those guys.
Sure. So you talk about tough times in your life. You're more than welcome to share as much or as little as possible. But two I wanted to touch on. When we were seniors in high school, we saw kind of the falling apart of a church. Yeah. And I don't want to go into too many details with that, but I wanted to ask you, there was a time where I asked you how you were doing, and we were about to graduate within like 2 months, and you go, well, neither of my parents are employed. I don't know what I'm going to do next year. What, in the foundation of Inspire, what did you see in your parents, and what did you see in the people around you that really impacted your faith in a way for better or worse? And what was going on in your life at that time, which is kind of the unpredictability of everything going on around you?
So we'll start with the story there. In the early months of 2017, year we graduated, a lot of major life changes happened. My mom was let go from her 2-decade-plus long job at St. A's. So there was some uncertainty what was going to happen next with her. And then due to circumstances at a prior church, that my dad resigned from his position. So both my parents were unemployed. And as a high schooler, maybe I should have been a little bit more cognizant of, okay, well, we're still fine financially, things like that, but I tend to overthink. And when that happened, my mind was racing like, oh, what are we going to do now? Like, I know I'm a senior, and am I now going to postpone college and go get some type of just a day job to help them make money for now? And I didn't know what I wanted to do yet for college as a graduating senior, which if you are a junior, senior in high school, let's clear the air right now. You do not have to know exactly what you want to do for the rest of your life. Please do not put that pressure on yourself. It is unnecessary. You have so much more time than you think. I used my first 2 years of college at Bismarck State to figure out what I wanted to do. And actually, BSC, I think, is a very underrated, not university, but state college.
Soon to be
university, yeah. I enjoyed my classes there for the most part, but it was a time in my life with a lot of uncertainty between my parents, between I had just gotten out of a long-term relationship. My brother was moving. Well, he had moved away by this point. He was going to college at NDSU, and that was tough on me because he had always been there. And then all my friends left as well, went into the military and things like that. So I felt very alone at the end of my senior year. And I remember we took a senior trip down to the Black Hills for about a week, and when we came back, we had parked everybody's stuff at my parents' place, and everybody drove away, and I remember thinking, that's it. That part of my life is, it's done now. It's gone down the road and up in a cloud of dust with my friends all leaving and my brother leaving. So there's a lot of uncertainty. And for me as a now early college student, it was very stressful. We didn't go to church for about a year either during that time, because we didn't know what to do. We had church within our home, but church is a community, and we needed a community. My dad did a really good job of really keeping our spirits up, and another thing I look up to him for is the idea of Inspire, that he wanted to build his own church. Didn't happen right away, right? He goes and he gets a different job for a little while, and that ultimately doesn't work out. But I think that really reaffirmed in him the belief that God is calling me to build this church. And when that really, the wheels of that started to turn, a lot of different life events began to occur. We started, probably talked about this on the podcast already, but started over at the Baymonts, 2017. And I started working as one of the youth leaders there, dragging beanbag chairs up and down the 2 flights of stairs every Wednesday and then back again. Was a workout, but I was in pretty good shape at that time. Me and Jack had been hitting the gym for 4 days a week, and I felt pretty confident with my ability to move those. Still a lot of work, but I learned that I really liked working with the youth at that time, being a youth leader, the early days of Inspire. And it seemed like everything was going in a really positive direction. Randy started a new church, and it was growing rapidly. My mom had found a new job at Inspiring Minds, which she really liked and still does like. Working part-time there. Josh was coming back more frequently. I got to spend more time with him. And my friends were starting to return from either early on deployments, or their training for the National Guard was done, and they were starting to come back. So everything seemed to be going in a positive direction, except for one thing. I was a two-faced Christian during that time. I taught one thing and I did the other.
Let's talk about it.
I was my own God. I thought I was untouchable. And I lived my life that way, outside of the church. And well, we know that God has his own agendas, and my plan was to, after I graduated with my associates in fine arts at BSC, go to NDSU like my brother, maybe dorm with him there and do something there. Well, I had gotten back into a relationship, and living my own life as if I was God caught up with me really quick.
Sure.
And all of a sudden now, I got the news that I was going to be a father at the age of 19, and rocked my world, as you could probably imagine, being so young and now having to take on so much responsibility. For about a week, I hardly talked to anybody once I got that news, because I didn't know how to say it. I didn't know what I was going to do.
Well, and I can't imagine, your dad is a pastor and he just starts this new church. What's going on in your mind with all that? You don't even have to say anything. Like, I understand, like, cannot imagine the situation that you find yourself in, just how much anxiety that would rack you with.
The thing that I felt most was, and I hate to say this now because of where I'm at, but at the time it was just shame. I felt shameful. I felt like, well, I am a complete letdown. I did feel some pressure as the pastor's kid to lead by example. Like I said, my parents did a really good job to make sure that it wasn't too much. But that I had completely failed my parents. Their reaction to that was, I think, as good of one as I could have hoped for as their son. that they were more so just concerned for the child. They were concerned for me, for the child's mother, and that's, okay, this has happened. We're not going to dwell on it. This baby is a blessing. Let's think here about what should we do? What should we do moving forward from here? I thank them for helping me shoulder that burden. That's, well, everything's changed now. And how are we going to go about life now? They were always there for me. They still are.
Well, and I see in them very different, and I want to clarify that very different situations. But I see in your parents with Lucas almost a mirror of what your grandparents did with you when your dad was away. Because with your situation with Lucas, you stepped in to the role of, I need to get things done. And you did. You got the degree. You figured out what you were going to do as, at the time, a single father. And your parents stepped in the same role that your grandparents did with you and Josh. And to me, it's kind of this fascinating, just almost reciprocation. Like I said, very different circumstances, but your parents seeing the example that their parents set and helping you with that. So talk about Lucas. What does fatherhood mean to you? I mean, you're 6 years down the road. Your life is very different from where it was.
It's my life. Well, every parent will say this, and you would probably, you know this too, Ty. You can't imagine life without them. That once they're there, your sole focus and attention, everything, is for that child. And Lucas he's my world. Was always there for me during those tough times as well, even though he didn't know it. I can't express and emphasize enough how much I love this boy. I would do anything for him, as I'm sure most parents would say. His mother and I just ended up not quite working out, and we collaboratively, I think that we've done a really good job of managing a split home for Lucas, between her husband now, me and Mariah. I actually think that we've made a really good team in building a positive home on both ends for Lucas to see. The best situation, I think, occurred where Lucas ultimately just has more people that love him. And if you were to ask 21, 22-year-old me, what would his life be like in 4 years? I don't know if I would have said it would have been like this. Like I said, I can't imagine my life any differently than it is today. So thankful for the challenges and experiences that God put me through.
Sure.
I didn't want them. That wasn't what I wanted.
But you are, of all the people that I know, you are probably one of the best examples of God taking what on the surface and in the short term is a really, really crappy situation and turning it into something that is just one of the most beautiful examples of God working in people's lives.
Well, and this everything that's happening here right now might not have happened if I didn't have a strong family foundation that raised me within the Word, and just this community of Inspire here, because I was not in a good place for a very, very long time. And it was my community here, the people who guided me, like, I'll use Ernie again, because he was there with me through all that stuff. Might have ended a lot differently if Christ had not been in my life.
Sure.
So I'm so thankful.
Sure. So let's talk about Mariah. I like to take credit for it because you guys met at my wedding.
She doesn't know we're talking about her.
That's okay. And
This is going to be so great.
I want to ask her kind of experience on everything in maybe her own different podcast. But what does she mean to you? And how has she impacted your faith even further than was already impacted with the whole situation with Lucas?
So, like I said, Lucas is my world. Lucas has made me into a father. And Mariah helped me turn into just a better human being.
Sure.
And like you said, we met at your wedding. I remember we went to the now unfortunately closed Toasted Frog the night before your wedding. And you, me, and Josh were just hanging out for a little bit. And I asked you, all right, Ty, is there anybody I should keep my eye out for at this wedding here? And you mentioned her. Next day comes, and I don't talk to her at all because I'm chicken. I think it was Nick Sunby who came up to me and said, you got to go dance with Mariah. You got to go do it right now.
Was this before or after you ripped your pants in half?
This was after. This was after I ripped my pants in half.
So you had ripped your wedding pants and you were now wearing basketball shorts at my wedding reception.
For those of you who might be wondering, make sure that if you're doing the cha-cha slide and you do the kick, drop, that you have enough room enough wiggle room in your pants. Because, dropped and the seam down the backside of my pants just blew right open.
But she still agreed to dance with you.
Yes. She did not actually see that happen.
Good.
She only saw me in basketball shorts there on after. We got a good picture of it, though. But I was like, okay, well, this is my bright, shining moment. I'm going to go ask her to dance. And I did, and we started to dance, and she looked amazing. She was elegant, stunning.
You're already married to her. You don't have to impress her anymore.
I feel even more so about her today. And we were dancing, and we were attempting to talk. And I don't know if this will pick up on the mic, but the talking that came out of her mouth was kind of like this. I don't know what she was saying. Mm-hmm. I could not hear her. She's so very soft-spoken. I actually really I could not hear anything she was saying. Mm-hmm. I just kept smiling and nodding, and I maybe picked up a bit here and there and attempted to carry on with the conversation. But I really didn't hear her talk hardly at all during that. But at the end of the night, I did get her number and started talking there on after. I think it was really courageous of her to really just continue talking to me. Because for her, talking to a guy who is a single father, a lot of people probably think, immediately shut that down, not doing that. And actually, by this point, I was kind of thinking I might just be single for the rest of my life. I just might rock the single dad life. I'd attempted a couple times to talk to people and maybe get in a relationship. It just did not work out ever. But it was very courageous of her to give me a chance, just a chance to show her who I was. And I think something that really helped was we have a really compatible sense of humor, and we're just, and this is in a good way. We're just dumb sense of humor. We connected with that, and she was and is obviously a Lutheran. She's a Christian, very strong in her faith as well. Attended the neighbor church just across the way from here over at Grace, which I think is a good church as well. Obviously, Ty, as well.
It's my father-in-law's church, yeah.
Yep. Ryan did our wedding. He's awesome. I think he's an amazing character, such a great guy. For her to step in, really float on those uncharted waters of, I don't really know this guy. He's got, at this time, like a 3-year-old kid. Know nothing about him other than that he is devilishly handsome and charismatic. Watching now her blossom into a mother-esque figure has been amazing. And I know that a lot of times she might not feel like she's doing a good job, but man, she is.
Mm-hmm.
I look up to her so much.
Sure.
Her faith and her trusting that God was watching out for her and leading her on the right path, I think really showed me that I needed to do the same thing.
Sure. Well, thank you so much, Jordan, for joining me today. Not just that, but I mean, you're one of my best friends. Probably my best friend and godfather to my child. I literally look up to you so much. You're a foot taller than I am. But I just wanted to thank you for sharing your story, for being willing to share your story and the way that God has moved in your life, and the way that you impact not only me and my family, but the kids here especially. You named a few earlier, but it goes way beyond that. People talk about, every time we talk to the kids about, who has influenced them in their Dare to Care circle, you and your brother are always named. And you have clearly made an impact in a lot of people's lives, and I want to thank you for that. So
I appreciate you saying that, and I'm going to double down here just for a second with Josh, because he does so much for these kids too. I see the way that they flock to him and look up to him, and Josh is he's still my big brother, and look up to him a lot. So
Sure.
Shout out to you there, buddy.
So I want to pray for you and for everybody at home. If you're driving, please don't close your eyes. But otherwise, feel free to bow your heads in prayer. Father, thank you so much for Jordan and everything that he does in the life of the people of this church, and specifically with our kids here. Thank you so much for his journey, what it means to a lot of people to see that growth out of what seemed on the surface such an unlikely successful situation. We thank you so much for your mercy and your compassion and your willingness to forgive, your willingness to grow with people and guide them in their lives. Bless his family, bless his extended family, all the people that have influenced him in his life, and continue to bless him as he's going forward in this faith journey. It's in your name that we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Well, if you guys have any questions for Jordan, you guys can send those directly to me and I'll get them to him. That's ty@inspirefamily.org. Otherwise, we welcome you to join us in person every Sunday or Wednesday, 9:15 and 10:45 on Sundays and 7 o'clock on Wednesdays.
You can also just come up and talk to me directly too. I'm an open book.
You're pretty easy to find too.
Yeah. It's just look for where you can't see the horizon anymore. Just talk to me. Open book. You don't have to be part of the youth program. If you're an adult, I'd love to talk to you too. I'm a people person. Love to talk to people. So
sure. Well, perfect. Thanks, Jordan. Thank you guys. We'll see you next Thursday.